And the show recording begins right now. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Transformations with Carly and Rick. I'm the Rick part of it, and right next to me over here is Carly. And today we're going to talk about pretty interesting subjects. I'll let Carly introduce the subjects. Carly, how are you?
I'm doing great, and I am actually very, very jazzed about this subject because I've had client after client after client inbox me, call me. So we're going to be addressing the ripple effect of social media and what we put out there, how it affects on multitudes of levels other people's lives, businesses, and more.
And that it does. And in fact, we've had some examples of the ripple effect just this week with last week with the Boston bombing, if you will, the marathon bombing. Not to mention what we see in the news, what we see all over the place, what we see on Facebook, Google Images, whatever. Let's just call it a very large insensitivity on a lot of people's part and a desensitization to what's going on out there and their role in actually putting out garbage, if you will, with no clue as to what they're doing. And in particular, you and I talked about this weekend. If you go to Google Images, and of course, probably some of you will do that once we talk about this, and you type in something like Boston Marathon unedited, you're going to see photos of people blown up. And you just go, is there really a need for that? I mean, first of all, you don't know who the people are, or if you do, that's even worse. Or you don't know what kind of stress those people are under, their families are under, the people around them are under. And to put that out in the open and go, hey, isn't that cool? Or just even put it out there. Why? What's the purpose? It's not pleasant. It's not pleasant for young kids. It's not pleasant for older people. I've been in bombings. I've actually been bombed twice in my earlier life when I lived in Argentina during their terrorist problems. I was lucky. I didn't get hurt. I got thrown down once, but no injuries. But I did see the results of it. It's not a pleasant thing. And to either glorify images or just trying to put it out there for whatever it's worth, that's really not the place for it. It's not really a public venue kind of thing where 2, 3, let's say 5, 10-year-olds can see it and go, ooh, what's that? Or to them, it's just another video game. Same kind of crap we watch on video games now you have to see in live. Not a positive thing. Carly?
So I'm going to address a few things on this. And one of them is actually, I do want to step back one little piece here. Mm-hmm. I do want to do a pre-frame for the show. And that is these are our personal views.
Sure.
Obviously, there's going to be a lot of people that disagree with what we're saying, and we're perfectly okay with that. So there's a couple things I would like to bring up. And a beautiful person that I know who works with AssistSocialMedia.com did this beautiful image of a runner, and it just says, sending prayers and love to the community of Boston and the runners of the Boston Marathon. And me and her both consult in social media, and she was getting bombarded with people inboxing. Her and her partner were getting, a lot of inboxes. What do we do? Do we take all our social media down? Do we stop talking on social media? What do we do in a time of world chaos, if you will, or a crisis? And so we actually started having all this dialogue. And at the same time, I was getting ready to create an image to put up, and I saw this image. So I chose to share it, and I actually wrote, and I waited. I wrote the blog post the following day. So here are the things that at least my own personal views is in social media and how to respond in chaotic situations. Now, I'm not saying turn the news off, be ignorant, and never know what's going on in the world. There's the internet for that. I don't think having the TV turn to the Boston news, bombing marathons 24/7 in the background is helping anybody. All it's doing is creating more inside fear, unconscious fear, and all these other things, especially if children are watching it. And now, if you lived in Boston, obviously you might have been tuned in more because you live there and you are worried about what might be going on directly there. However, what I want to go back to is in social media. Instead of posting getting into political arguments with people about who created the bombings and, these people should be killed and this person's an idiot and all those other things, a simple, blessings to Boston in the world is more than appropriate. Instead of getting into these debates on your walls where what people aren't seeing is many things are happening. This is where I say the ripple effect. One is post-traumatic stress disorder. Okay, people that have legitimate post-traumatic stress disorder, and mind you, all these people that have been in situations like 9/11, which I was a part of, I missed it by 1 hour. I won't go into all of it. However, I was very actively involved with it. And the people that obviously were in Boston Marathon who also were directly in experiencing the bombing are going to have post-traumatic stress disorder. These people are then going to attempt to get on with their lives. If they're constantly having reminders of themselves on the media, because you got to remind you, when one image gets posted on Google, it's viral, it's for life. Okay, it's really, Google images don't come down that easily. And it's the same thing if you tweet. If you retweet someone that has a picture of the poor kid that, by the way, whose father found out that he had his legs amputated, right, through a stepdaughter who saw the image, who then contacted him. For the rest of his life, this boy now has the image of, his limbs, his lower limbs with his bones being exposed forever in the ether worlds of social media. He's going to attempt to get on with his life. And having constant stimulation or triggers is going to be there now for him for the rest of his life because of people being insensitive and posting images of his, persona versus on Google and virally. And so I really want people to think before you post things, and I'm not just talking about the Boston Marathon here, I'm talking about anything that we post. Think how the ripple effect is going to affect others. Is what you're posting going to help people, or is it going to hurt people? And think about, seriously, the effect that's going to have on the people that may not be you. It also, by the way, is going to then turn other people away from you. It could actually destroy your brand. You could lose friendship. Think about the ripple effect.
Well, in fact, we have the cartoon that you posted, which is probably a good time to show it since we're talking about that. This is a more practical application of the stuff you put out there. The cartoon's showing right now. And people do look at what you post. You'd be surprised how many HR departments will go and do background checks on people. They'll take a look at what you post. You may not get that job. And there's good reasons why. We've actually not hired certain people because of things that they had out there. And we just said, no, bad vibes. Really bad
Now,
vibes.
there's a disclaimer there, though, too, because the new laws state that companies can't go on your personal. Now, here's
this
a
is before.
Pre-frame.
This is new.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yes, there has been laws passed that, companies cannot hire or, based on what you put in your social media. However, I'm also going to say, let's not be so ignorant to think that even though there's a law that says people cannot look at your personal social media, that people do not. And here's the thing, too. If your page is public, they don't need to be someone in HR. It could be a friend of a friend
Sure.
or even a consulting gig that you have, which is not HR related. It's just that you have a consulting gig. Rick's sister saw what you posted on Google or Twitter or what have you, and they took major offense to it. And we're going to address another subject, and that is, I posted this cartoon. I was just telling Rick this earlier. So I posted this cartoon, so I looked at your Facebook page. Oh, man, there's no way you're getting this job. And I had a frenzy of remarks on this, people saying it's censorship and how dare I post that. Now, other people might have left the comments up. I deleted all the negativity and comments from my page because, first of all, my implication of posting this post was about basically that think before you post. It wasn't about violating your freedom of speech rights. It wasn't about what we're talking about, companies looking at your pages and saying, oh, I'm not hiring you as a result. It's just getting you to think, to pause when you do a blog post, to read it first, then come back to it, then post it. And we also have the one images that you'll see coming up at some point which says compassionate, passionate communications. There are ways to say things. I can tell Rick I love him in a positive way or I love him in a negative way. You don't have to use curse words. You don't have to use, bashing one opponent over the other to get the same message across. So all I'm saying is think before you post. I'm not saying censor your speech. It's like, I don't understand why people connotate censorship your speech with how we say things. Cursing at someone versus telling someone, hey, you know what? Rick, I don't necessarily agree with what you said earlier. Versus, Rick, you're an idiot. You're an ass for doing that. I mean, there's ways to saying things to people. I don't get, we feel we have the right to just go lashing out at people just because we have the freedom of speech.
Well, that's because also one of the problems is with social media, with the internet, even though people have their names and sometimes pictures out there, they've done a lot of studies that there's a lot of feeling of anonymity, even though you're not anonymous. It's kind of a weird juxtaposition of reality. And they think that they can say anything and it's okay because you can say anything you want with no consideration or thought behind what they're saying. You were just saying earlier, think and then post. Most people just post and no think. Just put it out there. And then once you put it out there, then you go, well, what happened? And then people have all this drama in their life, if you will. But the thing is, does everything have to be out in social media? Every single aspect of your life? Do you have to communicate with every other word being a curse word? Really, does that serve any purpose other than showing that you don't have much of a vocabulary? Think about it.
This whole episode, why we're doing it, is for two reasons. One is we want to get people to think, not react. A lot of times we say things because we've been hurt. We're responding. We're letting something trigger something inside of us, and then we're reacting instead of actually looking at a situation. Like, for example, that lady who was blasting on my wall. We finally wound up having an inbox dialogue, and we agreed to disagree, and she apologized, I apologized, and we both left off. And I didn't unfriend her. I didn't block her, none of that. However, I took it to the inbox. I didn't want this stuff on my wall. And I've seen people leave streams of negativity on their walls of people cursing at each other, bashing at each other. And when I delete comments, I've gotten people come in and say to me, you just deleted my comment. That's censorship. Now, first of all, I don't delete anybody's comments without having a personal inbox saying, look, I don't allow these types of things on my wall for a reason. Because if you leave a comment like this, someone is going to trigger somebody else, which is going to trigger somebody else. And next thing you know, I have a snowball effect, a ripple effect of negativity in my wall, which I don't choose to have my pages look like that. And so I go on an inbox. I choose either a phone call or an inbox with someone saying, I'm sorry if what I posted triggered you. This is just my personal belief or my personal views or whatever that is. Find ways that are, non-violent and non-confront. You don't want to put, when you confront someone, throw things in their face, you're also going to get a lot of people get triggered. Some people are passive aggressive, and we all have issues. Okay, I got tons of my own issues. Okay, we all have issues. Nobody's perfect. The point is, how do you choose to deal with your issues? As everybody knows, I had severe post-traumatic stress disorder for years and years and years. Am I perfectly 100% okay now? No, I still have triggers. The difference is, and I'm not on any meds for post-traumatic stress disorder at the moment. Now, by the way, I'm not at all saying if you have severe depression, if you have severe post-traumatic stress disorder, I invite anyone to make sure they go speak to a counselor, go get the help that they need. And yes, if meds are going to help, versus someone doing something not good for themselves, I encourage anyone to do that. And I know I was on meds at one point when things were so out of control I couldn't handle it, okay? I've been given tools on how to, I know my triggers. So since I know my triggers, I now know, either not to expose myself to those triggers or how to handle those triggers. So, use common sense. And again, if you need help, get help.
That's pretty much it. I mean, frankly, just think a little before you do something. Slow it down. Remember that there's other people on the receiving end of whatever you're throwing at them. Whether it's good or bad, somebody's going to be receiving it. Better to receive something good than bad. And again, I think we are losing our ability to communicate intelligently in our planet lately, or on our planet, Look at how quickly people get irritated, whether it's politics, whether it's a different opinion. It's like nobody can have a different opinion. You must all agree on the same social cause, whether it's an idiotic one or not.